Board Diversity Matters. I'm pleased to be joined by my fellow speakers and experts in the topic um, on board diversity, Sunita Rajakumar and Johan Raslan. Welcome back, folks. Now, in the previous segment, we talked about how the fact that board diversity can derive better business performance. And from your experiences in boards, as well as on how companies eventually are slowly and surely getting there. Now, in our third and final segment, we will talk about some of the challenges in Asia in general and ask our experts here, Sunita and Johan, what their views are for the road ahead. Now, let's talk a little bit about the challenges. Earlier, I showed a graph on the study of women on boards by Heidrick and Struggles that shows that Asia is pretty well far off when it comes to having women at the helm. They are basically about 2 percentage points off our European counterparts. And even from my experience consulting with clients, many of whom actually do admit outrightly that it is hard to find the right caliber of candidates to make up the diversity numbers. So the big question in the room is, what can be done to help companies in Asia overcome these challenges associated with integrating diversity into the board recruitment process? Any thoughts there?
I think what the board recruitment process needs to bear in mind at all times is that people are the most important renewable natural resource any country will have. And so it should be in the best interest of any country to make sure that all of its people are contributing and performing to the best of their abilities, whether men or women. A significant part of this equation is having equal access to opportunities. As United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon put it, the world will never realize 100% of its goals if 50% of its people cannot realize their full potential. This is something that the board recruitment process needs to take into account.
Yes, that makes sense. Because women hold up half the sky, as they say in China.
Exactly.
Johan, what about you? Any thoughts there?
At the company level, really, the board nomination committee is one that finds and recruits directors. Regulators are very powerful and can actually help a lot. Regulators and stock exchanges and even organizations of company secretaries, etc., can organize roundtable sharing sessions for chairmen and members of nomination committees to exchange best practice and get the standard of recruitment, of how they recruit directors, get the standard up. Spread the word, and I'm sure this will help.
Yes, that is true. And I think it takes in our collective society in Asia, one of the things I think I've learned is that when they see their peers and competitors doing it, that's exactly when companies are much more motivated to do the same. Okay, what about future regional trends? How do you see board diversity evolving across the region in the coming years?
Well, I'm very positive, actually. I foresee this women on board movement will be picking up steam. I can't speak for every Southeast Asia or ASEAN country, but this region tends to move fast when something is seen to be good to do. Malaysian companies and regulators certainly do. And, you mentioned competition just now. Countries also like to compete. I won't say which.
True.
Studies will soon be superseded by experience, and nomination committees, I'm sure, they will see real practical evidence that a diverse board is better than, a boys' club. We are talking about real business after all. Shareholders want to know that the board of the companies they invest in are doing their work, they're questioning, they're being independent. I remember a chairman who once said in front of me, I don't want women on the board. They ask too many difficult questions. That sounds crazy, but it's not really uncommon kind of thing to be heard behind closed doors.
Yeah, you're right.
Good news is that this kind of prejudice is breaking down. Women get on the board, start to move up the ranks, they will start to chair nomination committees and boards, chairman yourself, and they show therefore the real value they bring. Example, I'll take my hat off to the nomination committee of Maybank, one of the very largest Malaysian companies and banks, when it appointed a female chairman just last year. Certain Dato' Mohani's example, the chairman of Maybank, will spur women on to become directors and chairmen. But people need to play their own part as individuals. Men need to make a great effort to find those great women who actually are out there. Use search firms. Look outside the usual network of who do we know kind of thing. Organizations. like institutes of directors, need to start compiling lists of really good female professionals, not just anybody. Kind of people that can help boards to know good people, women out there. And women need to ask to join boards, need to get on the many lists that are emerging, like in Malaysia FIDIC Forum for banks. And women leaders, mentioning leaders, please don't be shy or embarrassed to push for and advocate for women to be recruited onto boards. Just do it.
Yeah, Johan has been a great supporter of this.
That's really interesting to hear. And actually, I mean, you're right when you say that women sometimes tend to be shy and not maybe sometimes second guess themselves, and that's actually half the reason why they're not on board maybe. Sunita, what about you? Any trends you see in the coming years?
Well, I think at a more macro level, what I think are three trends relating to diversity in general. Firstly, ASEAN is such a heterogeneous, complex affiliation of nations. Almost all of them have a few hundred languages, multiple cultures, races, and religions. Businesses who want to succeed in such a complex ecosystem need to have a deep understanding of the multiple stakeholders, including markets, customers, and governments. Directors and boards which have the best interests of the company at heart and which are seeking the best business strategies should welcome rigorous discussions which reflect and welcome such diversity of views. Layered on top of all of this are the increased risks introduced now by technology and accessibility, where traditional business models are being overturned at an extremely fast pace. So it will be necessary for boards to be receptive towards diverse views if they're looking to survive in a competitive market. Second, I also see increasing demand for higher quality boards, where every voice around the table is actively contributing for the best interest of the company, which is sometimes not the case at present. If rigorous and robust discussion brings about better decisions and better strategies for the company, participants absolutely need to come prepared. They need to have a healthy respect for each other and the value of well-articulated opposing views. In other words, a diversity of views. It can also be viewed as a question of personal integrity. Are you doing what you say you are doing? Are you acting in the best interest of the company? Are you prepared for discussions, sufficiently knowledgeable, or are your contributions mainly anecdotal? So finally, another trend which will inevitably become more important to all stakeholders is the emphasis on the creation of long-term value or sustainability through the prioritization of what matters to us as a people and as a society. For example, the environment. Or addressing the growing wealth disparity gap by working with the underprivileged, quality of work-life balance. Taking all of this into account, are we going to need a new framework for business models which enhances such decision-making, leading to more resilient long-term value creation? There are already discussions on this topic, and I'm looking forward to progress in this area. In that instance, a framework for business models will take into account priorities of diverse stakeholders, which will correspondingly need to be reflected in the workplace and on the board.
Yep, very, very good summary. Thank you there. Great. So we've covered a lot of things in the last hour or so, and I'm just going to take the chance to summarize some of the learnings I had as a listener to Sunita and Johan when it comes to achieving a good balance in terms of board diversity. So when we started out, we spoke about the process, or rather I challenged the notion of having the relationship between board diversity and business performance, and I think both experts overwhelmingly felt, rather had evidence that a good performing board is one with that is diverse in its makeup of directors. Then we talked a little bit about the trade-offs, or rather the critics saying that meritocracy and board diversity is a trade-off, and of course. We feel very strongly that both cannot be mutually exclusive. Both of the concepts can coexist hand in hand as long as the company themselves make a very strong effort to ensure that they know what exactly they want to achieve from the makeup of boards. Then we covered what would it be like in terms of, what would it be like in terms of achieving the right balance? So how do we translate words into action? And here, I learned from our two speakers that it's very important to have the tone from the top, building the culture from there, and that people, or rather even women themselves and independent directors shouldn't be shy to nominate themselves to be part of the board as well. So, and the last part that we talked about here, just with a case in terms of looking forward, what are the trends that we're going to see across Asia. And here, I hear from Sunita that the quality of the board is very important. And in doing so, and in trying to achieve a quality board, we need to think about various business models. We need to also think about how we can challenge the current status quo. And from Johan, I remember you saying that men themselves need to make a greater effort to find these women out there and encourage them to be part of this movement. So I hope I covered your thoughts succinctly as possible. At this stage, I'd like to thank the both of you for joining us. Would you have any last words for our listeners in terms of words of encouragement?
I think having podcasts like this is a great first step forward. You know, it's going to contribute towards a resource center which people can refer to. And I think it's, like I said, it's really important that we have a tone from the top, from the regulators, from the governments, to enable the best talent to be available for boards.
Agree. And Johan, yourself?
I'd just like to thank you, really, Judith. Thanks, Corporate Citizenship, especially Bursa Malaysia, for organizing this. I think, again, tone from the top, as you mentioned, is important, and for Bursa Malaysia to take this initiative is very powerful indeed. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And just to finish off, what Sunita had mentioned about resources, I'd like to share that the Code of Corporate Governance Guide that was issued by Bursa Malaysia just a month ago in December is a very, very useful tool for any practitioners or anyone within organizations who are interested to understand more about how they can go about achieving a good balance in board diversity within their own organizations. So feel free to browse around. Practice Note 4.4 and 4.5 are addressing the topic at hand. Otherwise, if there are any questions or any feedback in terms of other topics that we should address, feel free to contact me. My name is Eunice, and my email address and phone number is attached in the current slide. Okay, thank you very much, Sunita and Johan. Again, it's been lovely speaking with the both of you. It's such an honor, and I hope to do so again very soon. Thank you.
Judith.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.